to bring her. I love it.
On this chilly, sort of drizzly morning, I would like to welcome you into the warmth of community. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal, religious home and champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in the wider world. In short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Welcome to each and every one of you. We embrace all that you bring with you, your unique beliefs, background, and experiences. Whether you are one of our longtime church elders, have been here a short time, or are joining us for the very first time, or are streaming with us this morning, welcome. We are so glad to have you here. Before we greet one another, I have a couple of announcements. The first is that the risk management team is partnering with Spokane Alliance to offer a brown bag listening session this afternoon after the second service from 12:45 to 2:15. Childcare will be provided, and we will be meeting in the chapel behind the Friendship Hall. This will be an opportunity for small group discussions about comfortable security measures for our congregation's continued safety in these challenging times. Please bring your own lunch. I would also like to take a moment to remind you that this morning's service is a multi-generational one. This means that we will all remain in the sanctuary as a whole together, instead of sending our children and youth to religious education classes. Now, please take a moment to greet one another.
Thank you. We'll all have lots more time to talk with each other after the service with great coffee and great conversation. We now turn from our informal greeting of one another to begin our service formally, lighting the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and solidarity, of our openness and inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. May it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever truth has been found. This worship service is a special one because it's a collection of many stories from people in our community. So if you're young or young at heart, I invite you to come down for story time. You can sit on these cushions, and there's things to play with, and you can bring your parents and friends if you'd like. And you're welcome to sit here for the whole worship service if you'd like, because there's going to be stories the whole time. Or you can go back and sit in chairs whenever you want. I'm going to start off with my version of an old story that's traditional this time of the year. Once upon a time, there was a man named Jose and a woman named Maria, and they lived together in a small town. Maria was pregnant. Jose and Maria were very excited, but they were also nervous because they had never been parents before. Jose was a carpenter, and he was busy working extra hard to earn money to take care of the new baby. But in the evenings, he and Maria had been setting up their home and building a cradle. One day, Jose got a letter from the government. It said he had to go to Bethlehem, the big city where his grandfather was born, to put his name on a list called the census. It didn't make any sense that he would have to go in person, but that was the rules, and he would get in trouble if he didn't go. It would take weeks to get there and weeks to go back, and it would be expensive to make that long journey. He wouldn't be able to work, and he wouldn't be able to be with Maria when she gave birth. When Jose told Maria, she said, "Jose, I want to go with you." He was surprised and a little bit relieved, but he said, "How can you travel with that big belly? And also, what happens when it's time for the baby?" She replied, "I don't know how we'll make it work, but we will. There are kind people everywhere, and we will have each other." They talked and planned, and then they began selling everything they owned so they would have money for the journey, all the way down to that cradle they'd built for the baby. They gave all their food away that would go bad, and the neighbors gave them advice and food that would travel well and baby blankets. The next morning, Maria and Jose packed up their donkey and set out toward the unknown. They walked and walked through open countrysides and little towns. As the days wore low, they would find a village and introduce themselves to the people who lived there. There was always someone who helped them find a safe place to stay, in a barn or in a quiet courtyard. Sometimes they found an inn and paid for a real bed with warm water to bathe. But most nights they made do with the simple hospitality of generous strangers. In the morning, they would help their hosts out with the chores, share some breakfasts, and then hit the road. Sometimes Maria walked along Jose, chatting. Sometimes she rode on the donkey, feeling its warm, strong muscles below her, carrying her toward the future. During quiet stretches, Maria and Jose wondered privately about what was to come. They had been building a home together, but now everything was disrupted, and home was only what they and their donkey could carry. But there was something drawing them forward on this journey, even though they didn't choose the journey, something totally unrelated to the government census, a spirit that gave their lives meaning, a spirit that they didn't understand, but they still could feel. The first part of our story ends here, with Maria and Jose walking toward Bethlehem on a cool afternoon with the winter sun low on the horizon. Soon they will find a place to stop and rest, and as they fall asleep, they will try to imagine Bethlehem. I'll be back to tell you more about their story later. But in the meantime, please rise in body and spirit and join me in singing O Little Town of Bethlehem. After we sing, we'll hear Elizabeth Wilhelm's story of coming home.
In our multi-generational services when I was in junior high and high school, I would only ever agree to light candles because the idea of coming up here and saying words out loud was not going to happen. When I graduated from high school, though, I came up here for the first time and spoke. I thought that today, speaking on the theme of coming home, that it would be nice to reflect on some of the same ideas I talked about then. But I have no idea what I talked about. What I do remember from that bridging service was the congregation affirming to us that we could always come home here, no matter the nature of that homecoming. My 18-year-old ears heard that as, "You can make a big old mess and we'll still be here for you," which was important for me to know, no matter the nature of that homecoming. Fast forward 6 years, and I didn't know it yet, but I was getting ready to come home to this church. In a manner that would have made my anxious teenage self very concerned, I had just quit my job, abruptly left Seattle, and decided to drive around the western United States by myself for a couple of months with no real plan, just a map and a heart overflowing with wonder. During those years when I was away, I had started to acknowledge God's presence in my life. I had started to acknowledge the guidance that God had always been offering me, and I had started to trust that guidance. And I came in these doors again, in some ways the same kid who grew up in this congregation from my nursery days at the Glover House on up, and in some ways a completely different person. I came home full of not knowing. That had never crossed my mind as a possibility for the nature of my homecoming. Full of not knowing. And the miraculous part, I wasn't worried about it. I just didn't know, and that was okay. It was okay because I was moving through my life being led by faith. As I have come home here these past couple of years, it hasn't felt like coming back because it has been so full of new openings, full of wonder and peace. God led me home. I know that in my soul and in my bones. I was called home, full of mystery, curiosity, and faith. If my intellectual mind had been making my decisions, my life would look very different, and I wouldn't be up here right now. But my intellectual mind wasn't making my decisions, and doesn't make most of my decisions anymore. Because God called to my heart and to my soul to lead me. And through that faith, I was brought home. Home to a world of beginnings.
We now gratefully give and receive our morning's offering, which sustains the work of the community and our mission in the larger world. The choir will be singing the song they sang earlier, and anybody is welcome to join them. This is in the Teal hymnal, 1001. It's the very beginning of the hymnal, if you have one nearby.
More often to things that redeem.
Each time we gather together as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and hearts and who we want to wrap in our love and care. We kindle a light this morning of joy and thanks, for unto us a child is born. A great-grandson to Jane Higura in Portland this past Thursday evening. We kindle a light for Reverend Sarah Lawal, our friend in Boise who ministered there. She was arrested at the San Diego side of the border near Tijuana. She has since been released. It's okay. Noise is okay. We also kindle a light this morning for Ann Scott Ettinger, her father and family. Ann Scott's father is in the early stages of liver failure after battling peritoneal cancer these past few years. We also kindle a light for Jacqueline Call from Guatemala. She was 7 years old and tried to legally cross the border, but was closed. She was detained by Border Patrol and denied medical care for 90 minutes while she lay dying. Let us share a moment in silence, embracing others who are here in our hearts this morning. You are welcome to say their names aloud as you are willing. Those named aloud and those remembered in silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world this hour, we hold in our community of compassion.
I'm back to tell you a little more about Maria and Jose's story. And I'll invite you again, the young and young at heart. If you'd like to sit up here, you are more than welcome. When we left off, Jose and Maria were on the road to Bethlehem. As they got closer to the city, it became harder and harder to find a place to stay. The villages were crowded with other travelers reporting for the census, and people were grouchy and rushed. One day, they saw their last patch of countryside, and they were swallowed up in the city, Bethlehem. They had arrived. They found an inn, but all the rooms were taken. The next one was full too. At the third one, Jose went in, and they were out of luck again. But when he told the innkeeper that Maria was expecting a baby soon, she decided to come out and take a look at her. She saw Maria and said, "Oh my goodness!" And so she set up a cozy place for Maria and Jose and their donkey in the barn. Once Maria was settled, Jose went out into the city to try to figure out this census thing. He had to wait in a long line, and the people who worked for the government were rude and bossy and unpleasant. He signed his name in one place, but they told him, "You have to come back tomorrow to do more paperwork." He returned to the barn discouraged. He was doing the best he could to follow the rules, but he was being treated like a criminal. He was looking forward to getting a hug from Maria and her big belly. But that's not exactly what he got. While he was out, the baby decided it was time. Maria told the innkeeper, who hollered to her next-door neighbor, who sent her daughter down the street, who came back with a midwife, a wise old grandma with kind eyes and a firm and soothing voice. Now, Maria had not imagined giving birth in a barn. But she was brave and hopeful. This place of sanctuary was not what she would have chosen, but sanctuary it was. And when Jose came in and held her hand, she knew she was in a sacred place. Jose let go of all his worries about the bureaucracy as he held Maria in labor. It was the strangest, most amazing thing he'd ever seen, a miracle. When the baby arrived, the midwife lay him on Maria's chest. Jose gazed into the baby's face, a face no one had ever seen before that moment. He didn't know the baby's gender. He didn't know the baby's future. But he knew that the baby mattered. And he knew that no matter what happened out beyond his control, no matter that they were in a barn, he, Jose, would be a sanctuary to that baby. We'll continue this story later, but please join me and Levi and Aria in singing Sanctuary. The three of us will sing it together once, and then you're all welcome to join in. Please rise in body and spirit. Make us a where we are a sanctuary, each made holy, loved right through, with thanksgiving. Make us a living sanctuary anew. Make us a where we are a sanctuary, each made holy, loved right through, with thanksgiving. We are a living sanctuary anew. One more time. Make us a where we are a sanctuary, each made holy, loved right through, with thanksgiving. We are a living sanctuary anew.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. We are Eva Elliott and Levi Kiesecker.
We're going to talk about sanctuary. When you think of a sanctuary or sacred place, you might think of a church or a home. But we feel like a sanctuary can be any place where you feel safe and loved. So there are many places that can be a sanctuary, not just churches or homes. You might even find sanctuary with unexpected people in unexpected places. For example, Jose and Maria from the story you were being told today found sanctuary in an unexpected place. In this case, it was a barn with unexpected people. This is an example of an unexpected sanctuary.
When I was going through a difficult time as a teenager, I found sanctuary with a miraculously kind and wise stranger that I encountered on a walk. Over the course of a few hours together, I found sanctuary on a quiet country road with someone I'd never seen before. That is an example in my life of finding sanctuary unexpectedly, but you can also find sanctuary somewhere you visit every day. All three of us find sanctuary in our bedrooms and our family's living room.
In fact, we spent time together writing this reflection in the living room, cultivating sanctuary as a part of our opportunity to be here with you today. For that, we are grateful. Please join us together as we sing the song Sanctuary once again.
cassowary, our sanctuary, each made holy, bright flight through, with thanksgiving, we are all living, sanctuary of you.
Over the course of the last several months, our children and youth have been adding some meditation tools to their spiritual toolbox. You have silently made mandalas with felt shapes and used meditation jars. Some of those tools might be near you. If they are, you are welcome to use them now. Whatever tools you use, you are all invited to spend some time now in silent meditation.
When we left off, Jose and Maria were spending time with their new baby right after he was born. Well, the next morning, Jose woke up and decided it was time to go back into town to deal with paperwork. He had another frustrating day, but he returned at dusk with some flowers for Maria, and the innkeeper lent him a jar to put them in. They went on like this for days, learning to be parents and fending off the worries of the world with small tokens of affection. Jose built a new cradle out of a manger and a rocking chair for Maria to nurse the baby in. Then, one evening, as Jose was rocking and singing to the baby, there was a knock at the barn door. Maria opened it and found a young man holding a lamb in his arms. He gestured behind him to two other men, and he said, "Is the baby here? We've been dreaming about that little one." He was so friendly and earnest that Maria invited them in. They sat down at the feet of Jose in the straw, and the young man said, "A few nights ago, I had a beautiful dream, and I woke up and told it to my brother. In the dream, there was you," he pointed at Maria, "holding that baby, and you were surrounded in light. I told my brother, and he had the same dream." "Sure did," said the brother, "except in my dream, it was you holding the baby," and he pointed at Jose. Then, cousin here came up and said, "You wouldn't believe the dream I just had." "That's right," said the third man. "I dreamt of a barn, and there was a star overhead, and the three of us were walking toward the barn, carrying a lamb. Then tonight, we saw a star shining over Bethlehem, and so we made our way to the city, and the star led us right here to this barn." Jose and Maria could tell that the shepherds weren't making this up, and they were just as surprised as they were. So they all sat together in the candlelight, talking to each other about their lives, about their joys and their sorrows, and they became friends. The innkeeper came out with tea for everyone, and the midwife came by to check on Maria and the baby. After a few minutes, the innkeeper said, "Maria and Jose, have you decided on a name yet for the baby?" They looked at each other and smiled and said, "Jesus." "Jesus," said everyone gathered, trying out the name on their tongues. "Jesus, yes, that's a lovely name," said the innkeeper. Many years later, Jose and Maria would still tell each other this story whenever they had a quiet evening over a cup of tea. It had been a tumultuous time in their lives. But even in a strange city, they had found profound kindness. Even among strangers, they found community. And it was the love of that community that helped them become a family.
my name is Alex. I'm part of a foster family. Being a foster brother is hard work, but is totally worth it in the end. You have another member in the family and another person to share memories with. Giving someone else a home doesn't only help another person, it also gives you a bigger heart to share with more people. When I was adopted, I knew that I would be in a home with a family that would love me forever and would never leave me behind. Adoption is important because everyone needs love and it brings families together.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Christensen. Aria asked me if we saw our family's journey in the story of the birth of Jesus. I thought I would have to tell her to find another speaker. But then I thought about it some more, and I think that maybe Mary and I have a few things in common. Like Mary, I became a mother in a way that was quite surprising to me. We had no guarantees that our story would include any happy endings or any adoptions in our case. In our faith, we talk about the inherent worth and dignity of all people. In my mind, foster care is one way that my family and our community can support children who all deserve to reach their full potential. We might not get to be a part of their story for very long, or we might be a part of their happily ever after, but my faith tells me that I'm spending my time and energy with people who matter. Sure, people look at me like I'm crazy when I can't give them a quick answer to the question, how many children do you have? It's complicated. But we've been very blessed to share all that we have with 7 little ones so far, and we know that there's always a possibility for more. We've also found a whole community of people who were strangers to us before we started our fostering journey. They have amazed us with their wisdom, their patience, their willingness to share, and there's always a sympathetic ear when we need one. We know that every child deserves a family who will love them unconditionally. I'm so proud to have a group of kiddos who call me mom, no matter how long we are together. Building our family has been full of stress and struggles, but we know that wherever this journey takes us, it has always been worth it. Thank you.
Please rise, embody your spirit, and join together in singing hymn number 408, Wonder of Wonders.
And this is to the tune of Morning Has Broken.
Before we formally close our time together, I'd like to say thank you to the choir. And the dear friends and families that shared their stories with us this morning. Though we close this time together, may you carry our story in your heart. May it wrap you in love and light. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.